Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mostly Together. Today's conversation is with Jenny Hubbard. Jenny is the mother of Catherine Hubbard and the founder of the Catherine Violet Hubbard Animal Sanctuary in Connecticut. Catherine was 6 years old when she was killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School back on December 14th, 2012. And this is a conversation about grief, how you process it, and also what it means to forgive. Jenny has a really unique perspective on forgiveness and something we can all learn from. And we also, of course, dive into the animal sanctuary, the amazing thing that she has built in her daughter's memory, and how she has chosen to celebrate Catherine's life every year instead of just remember it. So I hope you remember this conversation with Jenny Hubbard. It's just so good to see you, and I really appreciate you coming on. I know that, we had done an episode on my old podcast about this topic, and I find that you are just so inspiring, and I mean this. I mean, I know we're good friends, but every time I'm in your presence and I talk to you, I learned something else. Like, it's almost like there's a lesson that you're teaching us all without even maybe intentionally meaning to do that. You have this energy and presence that is just so lovely to be in, and I'm just so grateful to call you my friend, and I'm so grateful you're here today, so thank you.
Are you kidding me? The fact that I can call you my friend?
How long have we known each other now? A few years.
A number of years.
When you started coming on the show.
Yeah. I know.
Wow. And it's so great to see everything that you've been doing there at the sanctuary and see things really just take shape and plans and visions that I remember you talking about behind the scenes and then seeing it all come to fruition.
You've walked a lot of seasons with us. A lot of seasons with us. So you have seen it all. And it was just so, for me, it's when I'm able to just step back and think about how far we really have come, I realize that it's those moments that we least expect it, where it's almost like we lean into what's supposed to happen versus forcing what we think should happen, and amazing results come about. And so just the idea of now having a space that we can call home with the Learning Barn. Like when we first met, that wasn't even a thought on our minds. It was always just the butterfly party, or we were doing another event, or we were doing community programming and rallying people around us, and being able to build enough trust in the community that we're able to now. Today at the sanctuary, we're having a field trip. We had kids yesterday. The bus pulled in, and we have a new events manager, and I said to Jillian, oh my gosh, get a video of the bus coming in. Like, this is a long time coming.
Yes. Wow. So is it open pretty much to schools everywhere in the state to come if they wanted to for a field trip?
If they want to. Yeah, absolutely. And right now what we're doing is really working with educators in making sure that we are enhancing and enriching what they're doing in the classroom, so that it's not a field trip where kids just come and go home and it was a great day spent running around outdoors. What we want to happen, and it's what's happening, is that kids are coming and they're learning from us, and then they can turn around and apply it at home. And I truly believe that if we can inspire someone at the sanctuary to be changed a little bit, and they can take that into their own environment or their own backyard, then we amplify what needed to happen a long time ago. And the world gets a little bit kinder and a little bit gentler, little by little by little.
Of course, we would not be talking about the Learning Barn and everything if it wasn't for an unspeakable tragedy that happened back in 2012. So first and foremost, for those who are not familiar with you, Jenny, and about all the amazing things that you've done at the foundation, can you take me back to your life before 2012? Who were you then?
Before 2012, I was I still am, but a mom of two beautiful babies. Freddie was 8 um, on December, December 13th. He was 8 and Catherine was 6. And I was managing the hustle and bustle of having an 8 and 6 year old. So after school activities and running around, Catherine was a daisy for Girl Scouts. Freddie was playing baseball. Um, and I think he was doing a winter session at that time. So he was doing some indoor training. And the drop off at school, I was the homeroom mom for both of them. And really just
Wow.
like leaning into their lives and doing the things that, at the time they just seemed so routine and so mundane. Um, and I think it's okay to say that, but just like doing in the daily grind of what a mom should do. And I was really starting to think about what was it that I was going to do now that Catherine was going to be in school for a full year. I had left the workforce when Freddie was born, and really dived into being a mom. And so now all of a sudden I was free from 8 to 2 or whatever the school day was. And so I was thinking about what is it that I'm going to do now that both kids were away, and I had a block of time that I could focus on, perhaps part-time or perhaps something else. And then December 14th, that all changed. Freddie was still 8 and Catherine was dead. Like, it was terrible. She was lost in the Sandy Hook shooting. And in an instant, our worlds were turned upside down. And there was no more questioning about, well, what do I do now that I have this block of time on my hands? It was, how do we heal? How do we even comprehend the loss of Catherine? Life got very, very quiet, very, very quickly. And in retrospect, in that suddenality of losing Catherine, perspective became really clear for me, because I look back now and I realized that it wasn't mundane. We had Thursday night, she had a Daisy meeting. And so all of her little friends were sitting on the floor and they had made snow globes. And so Catherine was the animal girl. Hers was a little tree, and it was there was a deer that she tucked under the tree. And she really didn't want to make the snow globe. She just wanted a little deer figurine. Um, and each year I bring it out at Christmas, and I'm reminded of how quickly life can change. In a blink, life changes.
It really can. Yeah. And I, what, who was Catherine? For those again who don't know, what made her uniquely her?
Oh, okay. So, well, you can kind of see her behind me. Vibrant red hair. If you think about the kids who were lost in Sandy Hook, the vibrant red hair.
Yeah.
And so she was so gentle, yet so fierce. She was so graceful, like just whimsical, almost like not fairy-like, but kind of she was very skinny, but had really long arms. So when she gave you a hug, it like you could feel her arms going all the way around you and like probably touching touching each other. So she was kind of like this lanky kid that ran fast and played hard, but would stop on a dime and just well up because she thought that a worm was hurt, or like a frog. She'd see a frog and she'd realize it's not where it's supposed to be. She loved animals beyond a doubt. She loved them all. And so her passion is what we do day in day out at the sanctuary. And I think about that little kid who she would collect the worms or the butterflies or frogs. And in the summer, that was kind of her daily routine. She'd build a mason jar habitat. She'd put an animal in it. She carried it around for the day. And then she had this unique ability of being able to just let them go at night. Because the rule was you had to let them go. You could not keep them in your. Otherwise, we were going to assemble Noah's Ark very quickly, and that was not going to happen. Not gonna
Right.
happen. And so, I think about that now, and I wonder, like, there's no saying what she would have done. But there was one thread that ran through her entire life, and that was her love of animals. I'm sure that in some way, shape, or she'd be 20 now. In some way, shape, or form, I have to believe she'd be in the animal welfare world and taking care of those little creatures day in and day out.
And that's the beauty of the mission that you're carrying
Yeah.
on in her
Yeah.
legacy, in her memory, and keeping that alive. And when after all this happened, what did your community at Sandy Hook feel like on a day-to-day basis? How was everyone? Was everyone dealing with things in their own ways? Were people coming together? I can imagine it must have been very confusing, just all in all.
That's such a great word. Yes. Confusing is a great word. I think collectively as a community, we rallied to try to restore some sense of normalcy, whatever that looked like. Because before Sandy Hook, this town, Newtown, and the community was, it almost was a Norman Rockwell type environment where everybody knew each other. You met at the ball field, and your kids they all got along. And if you didn't go to the same elementary school, you played in the same league, and so you'd go to the grocery store, and everybody knew each other. Quintessential New England. And so after Sandy Hook, they took the children, the surviving children, and they moved the entire school across town to Monroe. And there happened to be a school that they could keep all the kids together. And I think that collectively it was probably the first decision to try to say, to try to think, and I don't know this, I'm just presuming, but I think it was collectively a decision to say, let's try to somehow preserve that community where everybody knows each other and everybody knows, and people walking down the street and riding bikes. And but I think that the community was also very lonely. I think everybody was trying to navigate this new normal in a way that felt right to them. It was abnormal at the time. You had families that lost, and tragically, and we were numb. We were just trying to breathe and deal with how do we move through the loss of a child in such a tragic manner. And then there was the siblings who also lost. So now you've got families trying to understand and navigate grief, but you also have a community that was trying to explain and navigate grief with their children. Like, how do you explain to a 6-year-old that the friend that they knew on the field, they didn't necessarily go to school together, but they played a sport together, or they danced together, or in an activity together? How do you then explain that this child, this friend, is no longer here? And so I think that the community was really broken and frail, and did its absolute level best to try to come together in some sense of normalcy. What I love is that in some respects, not immediately, but in the years since, the community has come together around the sanctuary. Like just a year ago, we had some land that across from the sanctuary that was, there were some question marks about how it was going to be used, and to have community show up at public hearings and say, the sanctuary is my place of healing. The sanctuary is where I go, or where I recovered from cancer. It's humbling to think that we, as honoring Catherine, have become this place where Newtown rallies behind. I love the fact that we are considered it's a place of healing for the community.
Yeah, not just for one person. You're touching so many different lives, which I bet you didn't even realize. Yeah, I'm sure there was a thought where I want this space to be for everyone. But did you think it was going to hit people in the way it does now and touch them in the way it
No,
does now?
no.
Yeah.
Every single milestone that we've met has been so counterintuitive. When we were first looking for property, because after Catherine died and we set out on creating whatever this was going to be, Catherine's sanctuary started because there was a typographical error in her obituary, which I love. I love that it just happened. I'm a big God girl, and so for me, I think this was my first lesson from God to say, let go of the control that you're trying to hold. So we wrote her obituary and asked for donations to go to the Animal Center of Newtown, with the thought that that was the Animal Control Center, and it was not. It was a nonprofit it was 4 or 5 women, beautiful women, that were rescuing cats and dogs, and they received an inordinate amount of donations and support in Catherine's memory. And so they came to us. We didn't know who they were. They didn't know who we didn't know who they were. They didn't know who we were. They just started receiving checks from across the globe. And yeah, and so they came to us and said, what would you like to do with this? I had no idea. I was a mom. The day before, I was a daisy leader. I was excited about a snow globe. So I said, I don't know. And they suggested this place of healing called the sanctuary. And from that moment on, the sanctuary has just been this place of natural and organic growth. We started on our journey with the donations that they had received to purchase a piece of land. The first step was to understand what a sanctuary was. So a lot of working with the ASPCA, and we went out to Utah and learned from best friends, and Cornell was talking to us. So all of these amazing animal welfare advocates came alongside us and said, let us teach you what we know, which was in retrospect, incredibly humbling. How many people get to honor their children in such a remarkable way? So we decided we wanted to get property, and I had in my mind exactly what that property was going to look like and where it was going to be and how we were going to go about getting it. And it turned out that was not what was going to happen. And we ended up with a piece of property that we loved, wrapped up in red tape at the state. I was told, under no certain terms, do not be disappointed if your contribution to the sanctuary in your lifetime is the conveyance of property. And a year later, we were receiving this beautiful piece of property. The governor actually handed the deed to Freddie. So he's now 9, and he's receiving this piece of property. And the governor says to him, take good care. Here's your mission. You can now still continue to take care of your baby sister. And from there, it's just been story after story after story. People would say, well, when are you going to build a building? And I would say, oh, next year. So now we're in 2020. The land was given in 2014. I'm like, oh, we'll have a building by 2016. We didn't have a building until 2025. Who knew? But we have beautiful gardens, and we have a beautiful piece of property that's used as an outdoor classroom, and we have vibrant programming that's teaching kids how to be kinder to the world around them and kinder to each other. And we're helping seniors keep and care for their pets, and we're across Connecticut and Massachusetts. So all of these milestones that we've been meeting, I constantly have to stop and just know that there's a greater good at work and a team that is committed to our mission, and that's honoring Catherine's commitment to animals, that should keep them safe.
What did it actually look like to build something while you were still grieving? Because sometimes it takes people years to even begin to think of how they want to honor their loved one who they've lost.
Well, one thing I do know is that a lot of grief and a lot of healing is so deeply personal. There is no roadmap, and there is no 12 steps to take to get through it. It is not a linear path by any stretch. There's some commonalities. There's points of angers. There's points of disbelief and frustration, but it's not. There's not a consecutive. I don't think a consecutive path to one day you wake up and you say, "Okay, I've checked the box and now I'm healed." And I think that in looking back, I wanted to do, and I think that for some people, in their grief and in the aftermath of tragedy, call it whatever kind of tragedy you want, there's people that they're either it's fight or flight. And I think for me, I was in fight mode. I wanted to do something, and I wanted to feel like I still had a purpose. I still had a son, and I had the hard work of trying to make sure he realized his life meant something. And it was not about, you have a sister who died in a horrible tragedy, but you have a beautiful life and a beautiful journey in front of you. And then for me, putting him on the bus, being able to honor her life, I think was how I fought my way through to this place of healing.
And tapping into that reservoir, I think we all have as parents, right? That strength that it's there. And sometimes you don't know it's there
right.
until we're really tested, right? In those moments where...
Right.
Oof.
Yeah. What you wouldn't do for your kid. I think about it now, and I just, I think that there's moments where we are like, ugh, I'm done with this. But just knowing that there was an opportunity and people who were committed to reminding me, oh no, you can do this. This is not some pipe dream. You're not imagining the fact that you can build an amazing place called Sanctuary. It just spurred us forward. So many times people say, Catherine's just nudging you ahead. Because I don't think it's a surprise that in those moments where we get frustrated or the team just is like, what are we going to do now? This is a huge roadblock. When we push through it and we get to the other side of it, it's more amazing than we could have ever imagined.
When you hit those moments, that's when it must feel, like you said back in the beginning, the unexpected routes sometimes are the ones that lead to these beautiful outcomes.
Yeah, I think that we forget that if you want gold, you got to go through the fire. It's got to be forged. If you want a diamond, you got to get crushed a little bit. And I think it's no exception. Yeah. I don't think it's an exception for us. I think any of us that have gone through something that was so sudden and came out of nowhere, and that we fought our way through and came to the other side, whether that's the final other side or it's just the beginning of a beautiful journey, I think all of us can look back and go, that was hell. But man, I would walk it again. I've thought so many times that I live in this weird space sometimes of realizing that losing Catherine was the worst thing that has ever happened in my life. Terrible. And yet it is also the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I would not be who I am today and seen the goodness in humanity in such remarkable ways had she not died.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you've said that your understanding of faith changed completely. But what did you realize when your faith changed after all of this?
We don't need to strive. We don't need to strive. So this weekend I was at a conference, and it was 215 youth leaders, 10th graders, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Happy Saturday morning. So we were talking about, the name of their conference was called Find Your Why and Lead the Way. And what I realized is that when I thought about what we were going to talk about, what I realized was that Catherine in so many ways has taught me so many beautiful lessons. But one of the lessons is that at 6, we have this innate beauty to dream and dream big. And I believe that when we dream big and we have these amazing imaginations of who we will be when we grow up, it's because we're tapping into that heart, that the purpose that was planted in our hearts. And I do believe that we have all been placed on this earth to accomplish something. There's something we're called to do. And it's amazing. Like when we do it, it's amazing. I think the universe claps for us. I think they're like, yes, you found it. So Catherine's passion, and I think what was tucked into her heart, is caring for animals. And I'm not sure how, and I'm not sure what she would be doing today, but she'd be caring for animals. And I think that somewhere along the way, we lose that. And for whatever reason, parents, friends, society, our own self-doubt, our own self-worth, I think that as we grow and we look back, it was interesting. I said to the kids, how many of you remember what you wanted to do? What was your I'm going to be, like bright lights, big stars? And only a few of them remembered. But when they
Really?
talked about, like, one of them was like, oh, I wanted to be a Lego builder. And when he talked about it, he had such a bright smile. And the kids picked up on it. Like, when we talked about what was the commonality, it was, everybody that came up and was able to say, one guy wanted to be a pizza maker or something. And, when asked, like, what are you going to go to college and study? What are you doing with that? One of them said, I'm going to be an engineer. And it was the Lego builder. Like, I want to be a Lego builder. And he was still smiling. Like, he had stayed tapped into. He hadn't undone what his 6-year-old passion was. And I love the fact that Catherine, she didn't have to compromise that. She didn't have to, she's still caring for animals. She's still the caretaker. When she made her business cards, she was the caretaker at Catherine's animal shelter. So I think that we unlearn it, and then we find ourselves striving. At least that's what I was doing, like striving to live up to everyone else's expectation, except for that little 6-year-old, what was tucked into my heart. And what I know now is that I don't have to. We don't have to strive. We have to work hard, but we don't have to strive. I think when we tap into what is it that's our passion, what do we want? What do we want to be? Communicators? Do we want to share stories? Do we want to be artists, leaders, businessmen? The world is full of opportunities, and when you can find it and you lock into it, there's no striving at all.
It comes innately. Yeah, you're tapped into it. You're locked into it. Yeah. Do you feel that way with the sanctuary? Like, are you locked in to carrying on that mission and bringing that to everyone?
I am. And there are times where I'm not. And when I stop and time out, I take some time to think and reflect and wonder, like, where is this angst coming from? And why do I want to there are days where I'm like, I'm out of here. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. What I realize is that we've veered somewhere. We're doing something that is just not where we're supposed to be. And it kind of sounds mamby-pamby, mumbo jumbo, but usually it's because we're trying to force a square into a circle. And we say it all the time, like, we're putting the square in the circle, so let's just stop. And it's not like we come up with what the solution is. We just stop and let things settle down. And always, every single time when we recognize that there's that pressure point, and it's not a pressure point because we need to work harder, or, again, like, this is not a find your passion and the world's going to come alongside you. It's find your passion and now run with it. And running's a verb.
Right.
Like, you got to work. It's all.
Exactly.
So, what I know to be true is that when I get those needles of, I'm not locked in, I'm not passionate about this, I stop and I step back, and then I come back, and I am locked in, because things have clarity when you
Mm-hmm.
step away and you're able to just think about it.
That reset that we all need to give ourselves
Oh my
sometimes because we
gosh.
can't keep firing off on all cylinders
No.
constantly. That's not
It's
normal.
no, it's it's not normal. We weren't meant to be on 24/7, 7 days a week. There there is it's not rocket science. There is so important for us to stop and realize that, we're not. I think it's a humility thing, maybe. Like, I don't know. The world is not gonna
Mm,
collapse because I decided to turn off my phone on a Sunday and work out in the yard because that's what I love to do. And once you start doing it and you
hmm.
realize the world did not collapse and everybody's okay, you do it more.
And that's good. That's self-awareness that we all need. We all need that little bit of
Right?
self-awareness. And if we're having a hard time, I think, tapping into that, then we need to reevaluate a few things.
100%.
When you're there now, Jenny, at the sanctuary, where do you feel Catherine the most?
Oh, wow. Um, it's depends on what we're doing. Um, because I will feel her in different ways. So yesterday we had the school buses coming in, and there was a little girl, and we were looking at life under logs, pulling up old logs and realizing that it looks like an old decrepit log, but there's life there. And so, the lesson is, don't judge it. Like, there's something happening there. And so this little girl was pulling up the log, and she was mesmerized by the bugs that were underneath this log. And for a split second, there was Catherine. Just in the we used to in the spring, she used to help me plant the gardens and clean up the yard. And she did it because she liked the worms. On a dreary day like today, she'd be all in because the worms would come right to the and she knew it. Like, she knew it. And so there was this girl, and she had the same intensity. It was like I could feel Catherine gardening beside me. And then there are times where I'm at the affordable housing communities that we work with, and I'm meeting the seniors that we serve, and they'll have their pets in these quirky little strollers, and they'll have all the accoutrements for their pet. They'll showing me water bottles with kibble that goes inside, and I can't help but think to myself, like, that that would be Catherine. Like that, there is no doubt if I went to her dorm room or to her apartment, she'd be showing me all of the stuff she bought for her pet. So, it really, her spirit is just so involved in everything. I mean, I truly believe that there are days where I can just hear her giggle, like, oh, that's so cool. I love it. Uh, she's all over this place.
Which makes so much sense given how you describe how she was at just 6 years
Yeah.
old. Big, big
Yep.
energy and love and compassion. So it only makes sense that now that people are feeling that, those who didn't even meet
Right.
her, it's spreading, you
Right.
know?
Well, and it's the
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
all of this that I just, my hope and my prayer for any kid, any little one, is that they can stay locked into whatever that little passion is for them. Like, if they had to create a business card, and what would it say? Not being held to verbatim what it is, but the love and the excitement that they have for it, that it would be honored in whatever way it needs to be honored, so that it is cultivated and grown into something that is so impactful and makes such a difference in this world. Like, if we all just did that, oh my gosh, what would we be creating? Who knows?
I think the world would be a happier place. That's for sure.
I I do too. And I'm not again, I'm not saying that I think that, it's this everything feel good type of thing, but what if, rather than saying to the child who loves the sciences, like, nope, you need to be math. You need to go into the business world. What if we let them explore that a little bit and cultivated that? Who knows? Maybe there'd be a cure for something. I don't know.
That makes perfect sense. And as a parent, to be in tune with your child, to see what it is they really like, spend a little bit of time with them.
Right.
I mean, whatever. We're all busy. We all have our things. We're trying to keep the, household afloat. And those of us who work outside the home, in the home, it's a lot. We're overwhelmed. Yeah. But just taking that little bit of time, which clearly you had that time with Catherine to support her and let her cultivate her passion and what she really loved. That's a lesson in itself for parents too.
I think so too. And I really do think that what you say is key. It's just a little bit of time. We are so tapped. We are so busy. Everybody's pulled in 1,000 different directions. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to change. We're moving at such a quick pace. It's something as simple as sitting down at dinner and talking and seeing where faces light up. Listen, will every kid discover their passion at the age of 6? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, part of me believes that I needed to know what Catherine's was. I needed to know what was coming down the pike. And I think I'll wrestle with that for the rest of my life. But, I think that those dinner conversations are so important. Or in the car, like just turning down the radio and having a couple minutes of what's going on. You don't know where they're going to lead, but we miss them.
And they go very fast too. They're fleeting moments.
They are fleeting moments.
And I wanted to also, of course, bring up the butterfly party, because one of the things that really stood out to me is the way that you continue to celebrate Catherine and not just remember her. So could you tell everyone about the butterfly party that you host every year?
And I love that you just said celebrate. I'm going to steal that. I love that idea that we're celebrating her, because we are. So the butterfly party started as a way to honor her birthday. And so her wish every single year, it would start right around now. It would start around Mother's Day. Catherine, what do you want to do for your birthday party? Because we had backyard birthday parties, and it just homegrown crafts and games, and it was just your basic backyard birthday. And so we'd start, what do you want to do? What's the theme? We got to get invitations out. And she would start in, I want an all the animals animal party. And she would not, every year it was the same, like thinking that the answer was going to change. And so we would back it back down to a single animal or a single theme or color. And so her 4th birthday was Catherine's Purple Butterfly Party. And it was my favorite. Oh, like it was my absolute favorite. The sweetness of it and just the innocence of it. So when she passed and we decided what would we do for her birthday, the first year after she died, we went to the zoo because she loved to go to the zoo. And it didn't feel like we were celebrating her birthday. It's a big deal the day you're born. You grace this world, and it just didn't sit right. And so from that emerged this amazing community event where we invited we thought about, what does the All the Animals animal party look like? And maybe we could bring some rescues. And the ASPCA offered to send down their mobile unit from New York because Catherine she called it the ASPCA bus. She loved the bus. And so the ASPCA sent down their mobile adoption, and they adopted out every single cat that was on that bus. So 8 rescues showed up, and we had 2 animal educators with their ambassadors, and face painting, which I had said, we're going to cover face painting so every child feels like they're at a birthday party. Now this year it's our 10th annual. Our first one, we welcomed 1,500 people came to celebrate Catherine. And this year we're anticipating 12,000. We have 28 rescues that are coming. We have 8 or 9 ambassador animals with their educators. So you walk the green and there are animals looking for their forever home. There are ambassador animals like boa constrictors around their necks, and a tortoise grazing, and beautiful the face painting is still free. There's crafts, there's games, there's main stage demonstrations. There's you're there.
Yes.
It has the butterfly party has grown into Connecticut's largest adoption event, but it has also grown into what I love, and that's an inclusive family festival where there's no reaching in pocket. Everything's free. And so everybody's welcome to come and just explore the animal welfare world with us and honor Catherine in doing so.
And as her mother, what does it feel like to be surrounded by so many people honoring your daughter in such a way?
It is so humbling, because what I'm acutely aware of, I get the phone calls and I've met the people who have lost their children, and they haven't been afforded the same opportunities that I have. And so I am acutely aware of the gift that I've been given. And so to be surrounded by 12,000 people on her celebrating her birthday, wow. I literally have to say to myself, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up, because this is so beautiful.
And it's such a beautiful thing that you're giving other people too. I think that that's one of the parts I was just so taken aback when I met you is your faith, the inner work you've done, the forgiveness that you have, and how you're able to share this beauty and share your daughter and her legacy with all of us. Like, that's something so special and unique, Jenny, about you. And I know you've talked about the pull toward anger or justification, but considering, the tragedy around all of this, like, how were you able to move through all that? How, your faith deepened. Not everyone's does when they go through this, to get to this point. What did that road look like? And, what did you learn from it?
Before Catherine had died, I was growing in my faith. I mean, I grew up going to church, and I had a faith, and I brought the kids to church, and my faith was growing before she died. I had met a friend who was, she was so faithful. Like, that was her thing. That was her gig. She dragged me to a Bible study. And so in the morning when the kids would get on the bus, I would spend a little bit of time, just a tiny bit of time, praying and thinking. Some people call it meditation, whatever. It was those few minutes of stillness. And after she died, I leaned into the habits that I had before she died. And so one of those was those moments of stillness and prayer. And my prayer started getting longer and longer and longer. I started reading the Bible, and I started journaling, and I started having authentic conversations with God, and literally laying it on the table. Like, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I'm worried. Like, all of the things that I think so many of us just internalize and beat ourselves up about. And here I found myself sitting at the kitchen table and offering them up to a God that I still didn't know, but I was like, you know what? Here you go. And what I found in response was just a peace and a stillness, that the more I was being real with my true feelings and working through where exactly were they coming from, is what I believe was a path to forgiveness. Because no longer was I holding other people accountable for what they did or didn't do. I was finding peace with where I was at right now. And I think personally that that's forgiveness. There was never an I'm sorry. There was Adam Lanza, he killed himself. We weren't part of the lawsuit, so there was never any restitution, monetary restitution, and money in the bank account. And laws, whatever your political beliefs are, I don't know if having laws enacted, or the laws that have been enacted, if they would have brought me to the same place of peace. I think having that space of quiet and offering and seeing that the world has more good for me than bad, getting it out and allowing that space to then be filled with the joy of 10,000 people showing up for the butterfly party, or having a beautiful barn that was erected last year, and having the space to see that, rather than sitting in the muck and mire of, I'm so angry or disappointed, or why is this not happening? Why is this not coming my way?
It seems as though you turned forgiveness not into a moment, but a practice.
Correct.
That's pretty powerful.
I've penned a book that's coming out in the fall. It's called Forgiving the Unforgivable. And it talks about the journey to forgiveness, of just how it is not an immediate one-time shot where you get the response that you think you deserve, but releasing whatever debt you feel that's due. Because really and truly, I think that's what forgiveness is. I think that we all are holding someone accountable to act or do or say or become what we think they should, in order to repay whatever debt we feel that's due to us. And I think forgiveness is letting them off the hook.
There has to be a sense of freedom with that, I would imagine, or some kind of release. Like, what does it feel like inside? Is it?
Well, for me, it became a knowing, an awareness of, wow, that has nothing to do with, for example, around First Communion time, I was angry. And I started really being angry at, like, the church. Like, well, why are they making a big to-do about all of this? Why? And it was not I'm ashamed to even admit it. Like, they were trying to honor the kids who would have been making their first communion, and I was furious. Like, who are they? And when I really sat down with it and I thought about it, I realized I wasn't mad at them. I was just sad that Catherine wasn't a part of it. And when I was able to say, this is my place in this situation, where I'm just sad. I wanted Catherine to make her first communion. I wanted Catherine to graduate high school. And being able to acknowledge that, and acknowledge the sadness in me, there is a release in it. Because I think that when you come to terms with the truth of it, then you're in a much better place to say, okay, I can't change that. So now I have to figure out, what can I do? How can I honor this in me, not the other person? I'm not saying there shouldn't be accountability, and I'm not saying that people should not be held to consequences of their actions, but I think that in the world of forgiveness, it has to do with how we ourselves, the offended, deal with what that offense did to our already broken heart.
Wow. Also, you've shared your story so publicly in so many spaces. So how did you decide, what you wanted to share and kind of what you wanted to protect too? Because I think that for some people who go through something so publicly, that's a hard line to walk as well, right?
For me, it was pretty simple. If it would be something that I would have to ask permission from Freddie to share, it was a non-shareable. Because I've always told him and created a space where our home is safe. It's a safe haven. And so there was so much that happened in our house and in the space of family that off limits. because I never wanted him to be embarrassed or feel like he didn't do something the right way, because there's no right and there's no wrong. So if there was something that would have infringed on that for Freddie, that was a no-go. The rest, I think when we start getting real with each other, just like when we start honoring what it is that our 6-year-old passion is, I think when we start getting real with each other and realizing that most everybody's life is a hot mess.
Amen.
So much better. Because I think we can then relate.
So much.
We're not sitting there going, oh my gosh, they've got their life together. Like, I love when my girlfriends get together and we're like, man, and the stories that come out, and we laugh, we laugh like we're in high school again. I think we've gotten so serious. But I also know that in those moments of heartbreak and in those moments of healing, that to know that, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not weird. This is not awkward, because it's what helped me. Then I can only hope to pay it forward. And some of those are vulnerable moments, but the women before me that shared their vulnerable moments helped me move forward. And so I can only do the same.
You're paying it forward.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's funny when you're talking about a hot mess. I mean, I feel like every other day I feel like a hot mess still, just like as a mom and just balancing life. And that's kind of, I created the whole Mostly Together podcast because of we're all kind of mostly together, some days more than others. And I wanted to know, like, what does, Mostly Together, what does it look like for you now? What does it mean to you?
It means that I actually get to work when I say I'm going to get to work. And it means that I can actually, in my planner, it's very funny. In my planner, I have 5. Here's what I want to really focus on. And one of them is putting separation between the sanctuary and this new beautiful life that I have. And so one of my little close out the day, I really feel like I can leave the sanctuary and feel good about what I did during the day, and then drive home and have dinner and laugh and go for a walk and not be so consumed with all things sanctuary. And there's a little dot besides over each day. You can fill in the dot. Some days it happens and some days it doesn't. And for me, the fact that I'm working on trying to enjoy life in totality and not be so micro focused on writing or sanctuary or relationship, family. I have a tendency to really kind of put things in buckets and all in. Here we go. And I think that Mostly Together for me is when I'm attempting to do that. And some days it works and some days it doesn't. But that's okay.
We're all doing the best we can, Every day looks different.
I mean, I think if I wasn't attempting, then you know what? I'm not growing.
Absolutely. No, that resonates a lot for sure. I can relate to that. Now the question is, if your work is at home in the same space.
I got nothing.
I must need to get out of the house to work a little bit then. I don't know. And I'm so excited about this book.
So that is coming out in the fall. I'm not sure the release date yet. It's called Forgiving the Unforgivable. And it's my journey to realizing what forgiveness really is.
And you also have another book, Finding Sanctuary.
Yes, which takes readers through how I came to a place of peace.
And where can we learn more about all the amazing things you're doing at the sanctuary? Where can people find you online?
So it's at cvhfoundation.org.
And you have a great social media too. I love following along all the amazing things and programs and exciting events.
There is a great team of people here that are doing amazing things.
And the butterfly party. Let's make sure to remind everyone about that coming up.
June in Newtown at the Fairfield Hills campus. It's Primrose Street in Newtown if you want to pop it in a GPS. And it's from 12 until 4.
And it is an event you do not want to miss. Bring the family. And the amount of people that come out for it and the experiences that are there, it's unforgettable.
It really is. This year we're launching our Discovery Den, which, because we've got the Learning Barn and now we have an educational team, the Discovery Den will give everybody a sneak peek of some of the programs that we can offer for curriculum and kids. They are working on it, and some of the activities that they have for kids sounds so cool.
And you don't have to be from Connecticut to go. I think that I've met someone from Maine and someone from Virginia or Maryland that came last year. And it was amazing, like how people come from all over for this. I mean, it is an event to come out for from all over.
It's massive. We've had people come from, that would make sense, from Washington, D.C. all the way up to Maine. It's crazy. And this year's our 10th annual, so it's going to be magical.
Well, I'll be there with bells on. I'll see you there.
I will see you there.
Jenny, I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I love you too.
That wraps up another episode of Mostly Together. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope something in today's conversation stayed with you. Remember, new episodes come out every Wednesday, so hit subscribe wherever you're listening. And you can also watch the full episode on YouTube. You can watch it. Our channel is @MostlyTogetherPod, and that's actually the same handle where you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Lots of content there. And you can go on our website, mostlytogetherpod.com. We have a complete backlog of all the episodes, so make sure to check all of that out. Take what you need, leave the rest, and I'll see you next week.